want to talk to you about your strong and powerful inner guide, and about how it gets corrupted and manipulated by the energy patterns and cultural rules that are currently on Earth. You should learn how to transcend it and how to recover your true nature and all the freedom and happiness you deserve. All the freedom and happiness you actually came here to experience. You didn't come here to fit into others' expectations. The expectations of those people most of the times are just a projection of their own pain and bitterness. Even if they don't realize about it themselves, sometimes they are just projecting what they have been manipulated to believe reality is. By joining those who are trapped into negative patterns or feeding what they think reality is supposed to be, you are just repeating that same thing and stopping the evolution of the whole human collective. When you have killed your inner guide since early childhood or since your youth, it's very difficult for you to be confronted with others who haven't done that. Many people may choose to get inspired by it, but many others, they choose to fully reject it and to try to bring those people down. It's just because it's too painful for them to believe that the program that they followed was not the only reality available for them. That program that they followed was just a mental program, but not an unchangeable law of nature. They like to believe doing things which you don't find meaningful at all is just how life is. They like to think you should treat yourself like if you were just something physical, or you were just the achievements you had in your studies or job, and wait for different institutions to give you value according to your productivity. They like to believe you have to keep achieving some goals which are not even chosen by you, just to find a little bit of value, which you never truly find in this way. They suffered by following that program, that negative mental program, and they don't like to see there is other options. They don't like to see and accept that they chose to follow that. Computers are programmed to respond in a certain way when you press a number. When you press this or that number, the computer will do certain things. In the same way, you learn how to count your age. You learn how to count that numbers together and how to respond to it with your decisions, your personality, and even your physical health. Like if you were following a computer program, you allow that numbers to kill your uniqueness, the uniqueness of your own path. Some people who have felt into it, they don't like to see that there was other option. Those people sometimes are doing the same with the families and countries they come from, inheriting programs which tells them what is possible for them and what is not. And they are manifesting their lives according to that artificial programs, that inherited programs which are not what they really are. Many people are convinced that those programs are as real as the laws of nature. They believe those programs are an unchangeable reality, as much as the sun rising every morning. When in fact, those programs are just illusions, illusions which different people manifested into actual reality. Illusions which are as easy to change as simply changing your own mind. The limiting beliefs coming from different families or different countries, they all come from the same root, which is not the people, The root is not human. The roots of all those beliefs, the roots of all those negative programs comes from lower entities. Lower entities who tried to keep humanity in a submissive lower frequency for a long time. Humans took those programs as reality and manifested that same reality for centuries. But this is not your true nature. Your vibration is so powerful and your nature is to expand it. That gift of yours have been hijacked against you. Many people swallowed those negative programs and dismissed their inner guide. They leveled their inner guide as some kind of absurd childhood fantasy. They assumed growing up means buying into a bitter tale where you follow a dictatorship about what makes you valuable at every age and kill your true desires and the uniqueness of your path. I promise you the uniqueness of your path will always lead you to ascension if you simply listen to it. For people who have been submissive to those programs for years or decades, it's difficult to see there was other options. They were ruled by fear, and they based many of their important decisions on avoiding future dangers instead of basing their decisions on love and enthusiasm. They like to think they were protecting themselves from something, and it's not easy to accept that something doesn't even exist sometimes. They closed themselves into a cage, and it's so painful for them to see that the belief which led them into that cage were not even real. Those beliefs were just inherited programs or simply self-created by suggestion. Those people deserve all compassion and love. And they have constant spiritual assistance, which is trying to wake them up. But you, the ones who are listening to this message, you don't have to perpetuate that. You came here to break all these lies and to recover your inner guide. When you dare to listen to your inner guide, you grow, and your growth will raise the vibration of those who are around you, and will raise the vibration to the entire energetic system of this planet. You have to fully connect to your inner guide before trying to guide anyone else. Prioritize your own growth and expand your happiness from there. You came here to experience that joy that you expected when you were a kid. That joy which felt natural for you. It felt like that because it is like that. That's your true nature and what you all deserve. There is a reason for the presence of darkness on earth, a reason for that dualism, but you should stop recreating that again and again, and assuming life is not truly enjoyable. I hope you understand that when I talk about joy, I'm not talking about superficial joy. I'm not talking about distracting yourself from your pain by movies, alcohol, or noise, which they sell you as joy. I'm talking about true joy, the one you find by deeply loving yourself and by expanding your soul while you walk your unique magical path, based on your own heart and not based on robotic actions. Even having children have been a robotic action for centuries. Something as important as raising a human who will massively absorb all your energy patterns and vibrations. That act should be done once you have ascended yourself enough to not be simply passing by negative programs or your own projections coming from feeling unfulfilled. Even something as personal and important as bringing another human to this dimension something which should be fully in harmony with your own healing and with your own soul wishes, that is turned into a mechanical action based on age programming or based on fears and insecurities related to not being accepted or feeling afraid of future loneliness. Like that, you are being treated and treating yourself as if you are just a physical being. And as I said many times, your physical body is a very small part of all the energetic system you actually are. That's why the health system you currently have doesn't work. Being treated as physical beings diminished and disrespects what you actually are. Things which should be absolutely unique and personal in the path of every soul are many times being done as a mechanical action. That expands and fulfillment and pain, and it's an obstacle for growth. And it's a consequence of being used to not listen to your actual inner guide. Doesn't matter how many therapies you take, if you don't listen to your inner guide, you will never fully heal. The reason why you are alive is for you to ascend. Every single thing you see around you is created for you to go higher into your light. Life is constantly shouting at you, what should your next step be? But you are trained since childhood to absolutely ignore that and to just keep following some common rules. Majority of people doesn't even know what their true wishes are because they are too used from too long ago to absolutely ignore it. Many people think they wish for something and they truly think that, but that is just a way to cover their need for acceptance and love. They don't even know what their actual wishes are, because they are too far from even connecting to themselves. The ones of you who can connect to your inner guide should mentally and spiritually send light to those who can't. But you shouldn't let them bring you down. You can get strongly influenced by others' beliefs and vibrations. It's basic for the well-being of Earth that you root yourself strongly in your own inner guide. If somebody is taking you away from it, you should distance yourself as much as you need from that. You can do it with compassion. Don't ever feel guilty. You have to remember that if you let somebody take you down, you are feeding the dark side of that person. You are actually harming that person at the same time that you harm yourself. You have to remember that love doesn't feel like pain or darkness. Love always feels like a nourishing energy. You have been hugely manipulated to believe love somehow is real when it feels like sacrifice and pain. Even some of you worship a representation of a suffering body, when the reality is that sacrifice is absolutely based on ego. It's the idea of doing something to create an identity for yourself. Or the idea that you can exchange pain for admiration and love. That is a negative pattern to disconnect you from the natural knowledge you have about what love is. Love may not always feel comfortable because of the current state of growth and evolution on Earth, but will always feel nourishing and good. Love is never disconnected from self-love. Love comes always from your own self-love. It's not an exchange, it's an expansion of your own light, and it's a nourishing energy, never the opposite. Do not feed other people's negative patterns if they are throwing it on you. Remember that if you take it in, you are harming them as much as you are harming yourself. Recognize the part of you which somehow resonates with it, transmute it, and let it go. It's crucial that all of you who are listening to this message have the courage to believe in higher realities and live differently. Don't share your dreams or your ideas with those who aren't vibrationally ready to support it, because that may become an obstacle for you. Don't misunderstand me, you are capable to manifest everything you want, doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. But keeping your dreams secret from certain people will greatly help to increase your own belief and the vibrational creation of that dream. Nobody can take your dreams down. It's simply not possible, as everything actually depends on you. But if you aren't very strongly rooted on your own beliefs, or you are in the process of fully believing on it, it may be an obstacle. To create change on earth, you have to create something coming from your inner guide and not something coming from those old negative patterns. All of you who can resonate with some truth about what humans actually are and about what your spirit actually is, all of you are extremely important for the ascension of the whole humanity. Every single person is born with an inner guide and a pull for expansion, but you are trained to shut it down. I want to give you as an example what happens sometimes with the tale of Santa Claus, which is also related to what happens on a certain level with religions. You have a very strong and powerful inner guide inside, and that is not possible to kill. But it is possible to manipulate it, and a very good way to manipulate it is to train you mentally to label everything related to your inner guide as a fantasy. As a kid, you clearly know and perceive that you have the power to manifest. You know that reality goes farther than what your eyes can see physically. As a kid, you are aware of that reality. Kids can connect with the idea of Santa Claus easily because it is in harmony with an actual knowledge about faith that they have. That knowledge is somehow channeled into the idea of Santa. Then after some time, it's told to them that all that feelings of magic and faith were just a lie, a fantasy, like Santa. As Santa was false, they also label all their other feelings of faith and magic as false too. Of course, that is just a small example. But like this, many childhood dreams are also labeled as false, as just some absurd fantasy like Santa. This is just a small example of how many things around you are working for your disconnection since early age. Something similar happens with religions. Don't misunderstand me, there is a lot of valuable, real knowledge collected in the depths of every religion. But some poison is added to it too. Nobody can directly give you poison to drink, as you will immediately recognize it. But it's easy to give you a nourishing meal with some drops of poison. You then will accept what naturally feels good and nourishing, but at the same time, you will take those little drops of poison. Like that, your search for fulfillment will somehow feel like it's done, but you won't get to the best version of yourself, as the meal you are eating contains little drops of poison to stop you. The faith and the connection with the spiritual realm, the ideas of peace and love, the ideas of being greater than something physical, all these resonates as true to your souls. Then, the poison of guilt and the manipulations of certain truth are added to it for you to accept the full package. Then you believe it's a package. You cannot experience or accept that faith and that connection to the divine without also accepting those drops of poison, those ideas about guilt and self-punishment. You get to believe it goes together. Then you connect with faith, one of the highest vibrations, but you mix it with guilt, one of the lowest ones, one of the lowest vibrations. Like that, you feel that you're nourishing your soul, but those drops of poison are stopping you from growing to an actual higher state. And because you have been brainwashed to think that reality has to come always from organized institutions or big groups of people, you don't accept to find any valuable truth outside those things. With religions, all your creative energy is channeled towards a belief system which nourishes you but also keeps you under control on a certain level. I am not encouraging you to reject religions, not at all. The power of a common positive focus, the power of prayers directed to love and peace, the power of humans coming together to feel the divine is immense, and it's truly valuable. If you can connect to the divine through religion and feel elevated by it, it will be very positive for you to follow that path. Spirits of light around you can connect with you easily when you align yourself with them. Devotion to gods, which represents the highest qualities you have inside, devotion to gods which represent unconditional love, is extremely positive for you. Just remember that the truth is not closed in any institution. Don't take those drops of poison. Use the real knowledge of every religion, but know that the truth is in your inner guide. Just always take a moment to see what actually resonates to your spirit. Religion tells you the truth has to be told to you from outside. Again, that's a training for you to not trust your inner guide. To fully reconnect to your inner guide, learn to observe your body. Every cell of your body is filled with spirit. All things which are disconnecting yourself from growing and from the light will give you a subtle physical feeling of heaviness. All things which are connected to truth and to the light will give you a physical feeling of lightness. You will feel physically elevated if you pay close attention to your body. Always take a moment to perceive how you actually feel about something in any situation. Many of you have been raised with ideas of how you should feel about some things, how you should think about some things. And you learned to disconnect to how you actually feel. Even the media is telling you all the time, how should you feel, how should you think, what should you be ashamed of, what is ridiculous, what is not ridiculous. And many of you can't connect with yourself because you are constantly judging yourself about what you feel and what you think. If you practice to allow anything you have inside, that will reconnect you little by little to your inner guide. Just know that what you feel, what you know inside, even if it's not logical for your mind, it's not your imagination, it's actually your inner guide talking to you. Many of you learn to just ignore that as if it's just a fantasy. Just by knowing it's not a fantasy, and just by knowing your inner guide is there, your inner guide will become already stronger. Practice meditation to connect to the spiritual energy in your body. Your spiritual energy contains more knowledge than your mind. Take care of your diet to slowly unlock your pineal gland, which is in charge of your spiritual perception. As life is currently on Earth, the pineal gland of most people gets fully calcified when you are just 7 years old. You can't even imagine all you could be capable of if you could fully develop who you really are and all your potential. You have to start truly trusting your inner guide, and don't ever feel guilty. Guilt is one of the main reasons why suffering is being perpetuated on Earth and never ending. You choose again and again to go through certain bad experiences, life after life, out of guilt. Not being able to forgive yourself creates the same karma trap than when you are not able to forgive others. Everything you have done was necessary for your expansion. If it pushed you towards the light, and it assisted your growth, there is nothing you shouldn't value about your life, even if it was so negative. When you are able to turn your past experiences into self-love, then that's it. That won't be repeated again, not in this life and not in future lives. It's gone. Listening to your inner guide may make you feel a little bit disconnected from others, as many people live under massive hypnosis. Or if you strongly connected your own to common goals which have to be achieved at the same moment by everybody, and you somehow start to do something different because that's what your inner guide is telling you to do, you may feel a little bit insecure at the beginning. But you have to remember that the results of your courage, the results of having the courage to follow your inner guide, will be reaching the best version of yourself that you can be, will give true meaning and magic to your life path.